So, what if I told you that your own personal transformation is actually intimately tied to the life cycle of the stars? Seriously. Today, we're diving straight into this explainer to explore a fundamentally integrative view of human development. We're going to be telling the epic story of self-actualization, but we aren't just looking at psychology here. We're actually mapping it across the stars, our own biology, and that universal narrative we all know, the hero's journey. I mean, just look at this question. Could solar flares trigger personal change? Okay, I know it sounds a bit like science fiction, but think about this for a second. It literally only takes about 8 minutes for light and energy from a solar flare to reach Earth. And when it gets here, it immediately interacts with our atmosphere and our electromagnetic fields. So we're going to see how these very observable astrophysical phenomena might actually be the catalyst for some profound shifts in how we experience reality. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, a cosmic call to adventure, the inciting incident of transformation. Now, like any great hero, our journey has 3 distinct stages. We've got a cosmic disruption acting as the call, physiological trials demanding biological adaptation, and then finally, a triumphant return to psychological mastery and self-actualization. This 3-part structure is completely universal, but today we're going to look at it through a really fascinating biological and cosmological lens. To really understand this call, we've got to look at something called Schumann resonances. Think of the space between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere as kind of like a giant drum. Lightning strikes hit this drum all the time, and it creates this global heartbeat of electromagnetic frequencies. And because our neural and cardiac systems are super sensitive to these fields, we are actually physically wired to respond to the changing rhythm of our environment. It's pretty wild when you think about it. And then things get even more intense. When the sun releases massive bursts of energy, we're talking solar flares or coronal mass ejections, it literally shakes Earth's magnetosphere. Because our nervous systems are so finely tuned to electromagnetic fields, a cosmic storm happening 93 million miles away can ripple directly into your physiology. It acts as this massive external disruption that deeply, deeply challenges our internal environment. So, this period of sudden uncertainty, that is your literal call to adventure. You might actually experience it as brain fog, maybe sudden exhaustion, or just unexplainable anxiety as your old, stable ego structures are challenged. But the key takeaway here is that this isn't just some random mood swing. It's basically the universe knocking on your door, inviting you to evolve and shed that old identity, very much like confronting the shadow in depth psychology. Which brings us right to Section 2, the road of biological trials, adaptation, and integration. Let's see how our bodies handle this. To actually navigate these physical trials, we rely on what's called the human biofield. This is an invisible, organizing layer of energy and information that regulates our incredibly complex biology. And hey, this isn't just mystical talk. We're dealing with endogenous electromagnetic fields and even biophotons. Those are literal particles of light emitted right from your own cells to communicate with each other. Now, check out this comparison. While conventional anatomy looks strictly at things like nerves and muscles, the integrative biofield relies heavily on our fascia. Fascia isn't just wrapping paper for our organs. It's actually a body-wide fiber optic network that conducts vibrational information. It even generates something called piezoelectricity, meaning it physically creates electrical charges when it stretches or moves. It maps incredibly well onto traditional systems, like meridians. So the actual trials you face on this journey, they are deeply physiological. These are the literal dragons you have to fight. You're tasked with battling deep emotional waves and completely rewiring your cognitive frameworks. Even at a microscopic level, your blood plasma is working overtime just to maintain systemic coherence while the cosmic weather shifts around you. These trials are simply the intense biological effort of adapting your internal state to a rapidly changing universe. Next up is Section 3, Purification and System Clearing. This is where we really talk about shedding the old. You see, shedding that metaphorical old you is actually a very grounded, measurable biological process of cellular adaptation. It's neuroplasticity, physically rewiring your brain. It's epigenetic modulation, which is literally turning the volume dials up or down on how your genes express themselves in response to this new environment. You are physically clearing out the old energetic coding to make way for a much greater flow of vitality. But man, this transformation is biologically exhausting. That's why ancient traditions have long prescribed tools to help integrate it all, things like meditation, breath regulation, and contemplative movement. And these aren't just for relaxation, right? They actively calm your autonomic nervous system, and they help that fascia we talked about conduct those new electrical signals smoothly while your body does the heavy lifting of cellular renewal. Having survived all of that, we arrive at Section 4, the return to self-actualization, reaching the ultimate goal. You return from this intense journey having finally reached Abraham Maslow's concept of self-actualization. At this point, you're no longer driven by fear or a sense of lack. Instead, you're operating with true authenticity, creativity, and autonomy. And perhaps most importantly, you experience a profound sense of self-transcendence. You realize that you're unified with and actively participating in a massive cosmic dynamic. I really love this quote from our source material. The ultimate prize that you bring back to your community is your own personal sovereignty. Just like it says here, it's the capacity for self-directed action that's grounded in awareness and responsibility, rather than just reacting to your old conditioned patterns. You've adapted to the cosmic call, survived those brutal biological trials, and emerged as a fully sovereign, integrated individual. But of course, the story doesn't just stop there. Section 5. The cycle continues. Cyclical human development. Because as you know, human development is never a straight line. Just as ancient traditions describe these massive, repeating cosmic eras, like the Vedic Yugas, our personal transformations are never truly done. We traverse these cycles of challenge and integration again and again across both material and subtle dimensions. Why? Because the universe is endlessly dynamic, and so are we. Our growth is continually shaped by this ongoing, beautiful relationship between our organism and our environment. Which leaves me with one final thought for you. If your growth is literally written in the stars and grounded deep within your very cells, and the universe is constantly challenging you to evolve, what old identity are you ready to shed today?